Today, we're going to talk about how to vlog, tips on starting a side hustle while working full-time, and how to feel more secure as a creator by interviewing Kristina Choi, a change management consultant and YouTuber in New York. Welcome to The Inner Creator with Peter Su, a podcast dedicated to helping creative entrepreneurs learn more about the art and business of being a creator. Today, our special guest is Kristina Choi, also known as kchoi on YouTube. She's a change management consultant by day and content creator by nights and weekends. She started her YouTube channel in 2016 when she moved to London for a year and hasn't looked back since. Today, kchoi shares content about her life in New York, including what's it like being a consultant, eating at her favorite spots, and making her apartment feel like home. She's made over 300 videos on YouTube, has over 150,000 people subscribed to her channel, and has gotten over 11 million views on her videos. kchoi, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Thanks for the intro.
You're like basically one of the biggest consultant YouTubers on YouTube. I definitely want to touch more on how you found your niche and all that. Before we get into that, can you just take us back to the start? I know you grew up in LA. Can you just tell us like what it was like growing up in LA? Did you have any childhood dreams as a kid?
Yeah. So if we take it back, I grew up in LA. Interestingly, LA has a big Korean population. I think in college, I found that more, but growing up in elementary school, I was like one of two Koreans in my elementary school, but yeah, didn't grow up with a lot of Koreans around me. Now I'm so proud to be Korean and love Korean food and culture. But that was definitely a journey for me growing up. And I'm glad that I'm now in this place where I even have a podcast with my friends that's really based in Korean food and drinking culture. That was like, I guess, a little bit of what it was like for me growing up, just learning to understand my Korean American identity.
Did you also have any childhood dreams as a kid?
Yeah, childhood dreams. I do remember very distinctly, I had said once that I wanted to be a National Geographic photographer. So I think that just speaks to always having wanted to travel. And also for some reason, at a very young age, I had gotten it into my head that I was going to study abroad in college. I don't know if my mom just planted that idea in my head because she thought that it would be good for me. But I have always just loved traveling. But the first time I actually traveled a lot was in college when I studied abroad. And that was the first time I went to the UK and Europe. So yeah, I would say that was probably at the highest level. One of my biggest childhood dreams was being able to see a lot of the world.
That's really cool to hear because now you're a consultant and you're just in Miami. You got like an Abu Dhabi vlog coming out. Like, was the original inspiration for starting YouTube? Like, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
I like to say that officially I started my YouTube channel in 2016 when I went to grad school in London. But before that, I actually had made some YouTube videos before, and they were all travel vlogs. So I went on a trip to Korea with my mom in 2013. And I made, I think, 10 like daily vlog type of videos while I was there. And then the next trip I went on was not for another 8 months, or I don't know the timeline. And then so I made a little mini vlog series of that trip as well. So I did start more in the early 2010s with making videos, but it wasn't something consistent until I got to London. The inspiration behind that was just when I had studied abroad in college for a semester, I journaled every single day, like in an actual notebook. And because of that semester is very vivid in my memory. And so I applied that logic and philosophy to this year in grad school in London, where I wanted to document as much as I could, but I just decided to do it in video form because that's what was just speaking to me at the time. And I started off with compiling footage into weekly vlogs, and I would send it in an email to friends and family. And then it just went from there.
It's super cool to see that whole progression because you're in London and then you're cooking a lot of dishes and then you were even singing like La La Land covers.
Yeah.
and you did everything. You did a Vlogmas, a Vlogust. It's crazy. Yeah. I didn't even know there was a Vlogust. How did you like eventually figure out what you wanted to talk about, what your niche was?
Yeah, I feel like I'm still figuring it out. I know like I do a lot of consulting related videos, but I still have so many other interests and ideas. But I think it's just kind of how you described it. Like I started out just literally, I would do a vlog, or I was buying some groceries and I was cooking a lot of like vegan plant-based meals at a time. So I filmed like a grocery haul, and then I filmed like tips for training for a marathon. So it really was just whatever I felt like I could share with the world or my small little community. I made a video about it. And then when I finished grad school and started my consulting job, I made a week in my life as a consultant video. And that was my first of its kind on my channel. And it just took off. The algorithm loved it and was sharing it to a bunch of people who are interested in consulting. I think what also was interesting about that video is there was some negative feedback on it. Like for people watching it, it wasn't super informative to them. It was a lot of me just like going on an airplane, okay, and checking into this hotel. All right. And then I had my meeting, but I didn't really share much about it. So when you get negative feedback, that helps with the views as well and the popularity. So I do feel like that played a part into it. But what it helped me realize was, there's an interest, there's a market, there's a group of people out there who are interested in consulting, but just have no exposure to it. And so I have the chance to share that. And then also I was able to take some of the feedback and start to be really conscious about explaining what I'm doing and why it is that I do this. Obviously, keeping things as confidential as I can based on the nature of the job. But yeah, that's how it's evolved into what it is today.
I know a lot of YouTubers, they're finding their niche, they're trying out all sorts of stuff. Then this one video took off and I was into it, the audience was into it, I doubled down, and that's like my niche today. But for you, how did your audience that was into your travel vlogs, your plant-based cooking videos, your covers, like how did they respond when it started being like, how to prep for, tell me about yourself for a study?
What I've just tried to do is really just create what interests me at the time. Obviously, my audience is important and the things that they're looking for. And I take comments into consideration and requests of types of video because that tells me this is what people are wanting to learn about. So I, of course, take that into consideration, but I try to make the first priority just what am I inspired by and what do I want to create? And I'm lucky to be able to do that because YouTube isn't my full-time job. Whereas I think if it is my full-time job, there's a lot more pressure there to perform. But for me, I try to keep it casual. Like this is something that's fun for me and it allows me to have a creative outlet. And so I want to make things that I'm passionate about sharing or interested in sharing.
Are you pretty strict with like doing it every week or at a cadence? Or is it kind of like, when my schedule allows it, when I feel like it, I'm going to...
Yeah, that's a good question too. For a long time, I was very on a good schedule of posting weekly, sometimes multiple times a week. I've gone through phases. I think just in the last couple of years with work and just getting more responsibility at work and things like that, it's been a little harder for me to keep up with that as consistently. But that I think is a standard I try to set for myself of that consistency. Because I do know that having consistency is super important to the continued growth of your channel. I don't want to ever get lost in the numbers and all of that. So that's what I mean by I try to focus on what's inspiring me, what do I want to create, but still having a sense of discipline with being consistent in my uploads.
You mentioned like not getting too into the numbers. Recently, I posted a short from this podcast and it basically got, for me, it was a lot of views. It was like 2,000 views in 10 minutes on a short. And I was getting so excited.
Amazing.
I was like, it's going to be the viral short. And then it stopped. And then I just felt like really bad for 10 minutes. And I was like,
isn't that the worst when the numbers make you feel like that? Like you'll get on YouTube, but it tells you every new video, it gives a rank like out of 10. Like out of your past 10 videos, this is performing like the 5th best. And then you're like, okay. And when it's performing like 1 out of 10, like the first, like the top out of the last 10 videos, you're like so excited. But yeah, it's like, I really try not to focus on that. Because also there are videos I have where I posted them years ago and then all of a sudden it picks up because there's interest in it for some reason. Yeah, it's easier said than done though.
How'd you handle it? Getting like 1 million views on the first week in the life of a consultant video, and then it goes down to like back to normal life before your next fire. You've had a few more, but in between, I'm curious about the psychology.
Yeah, it's tough to be honest, because I think also, especially in the last year or so, my videos have not performed really well views wise. But then I've also been able to work with more sponsors like in the last year too. Then I had previously. So I think, you always have to look at the whole picture is what you have to do, and not just look at the past month, not just look at the past year, not just look at views, but am I growing in other ways? And have I received like more of these like really special direct messages or comments of the impact that a video has made? So I think it's important to just take in the whole picture, and that sort of helps to not be focused so much on the numbers.
Yeah, that's super nice to hear from you, because after that 2K thing, I was like, wow, if I felt so good and then so bad for 2,000 views, man, I don't even know how people that have 1 million views. I was like, okay, I really need to like not be so attached to the outcome and
Which
just
is
focus
tough.
on, yeah, it can be so tough. And it's just like, but just enjoy. Yeah, it's like, oh, I love putting the music to the, cutting it to the beat. Oh, I love I love using this light and the way it looks with this lighting, with like the sun coming through the trees, like, just really enjoying the process and reminding myself, oh yeah, like what you're saying, that comment where someone's like, oh, this really helped me. When I been on your comments, there's so many, I feel like all the comments are like, kchoi, you've inspired me. Thank you. This inspires me to work harder. Thank you for sharing that with everyone. Because I think so many creators, we get sometimes too attached.
Yeah.
I know when we chatted last time, one of my biggest takeaways I came away with was like, whoa, like Kristina's really secure, or she seems very secure about her YouTube. And I'm guessing it's because, like what you mentioned, you have a full-time job, so you don't need to think about it for finances and things like that. But like, I know a lot of creators, and myself included, sometimes we get too attached, and like a lot of creators, like in this YouTube course I took, like Ali Abdal's class, I had like a classmate, he spent like 3 months getting the gear, the camera, the lighting, the audio, and he made like one video. And it's like, I meet people like that, it's, and I spent like a year looking for the best camera, like, so yeah. Do you have any advice for how to not be so attached to the work?
Ooh, yeah, that's a really good question. Cause I think it's tricky, because I think inherently, like people who would be interested in creating YouTube videos, it's like they're going to have that high standard of what things look like the quality of it. And like they will have an interest in like getting the best camera and like lighting and sound equipment and all of that. So I can see where that could come up a lot for people interested in creating YouTube videos. I guess it depends. I think, if you really do have a strong vision of how it looks, like, I don't think it's bad to take some time to figure out like what's your creative vision. But, you don't want that to stop you from just getting started. And I think especially now in 2023, like it's way more important to just dive in and start sharing content out there, instead of waiting for it to be perfect. And I think also in a world where like people's attention spans, getting shorter, like TikTok and short form content is king at the moment. Yeah, just it's for me, like I'm so glad that I had like a small little digital camera that I used, and that was just my trusty camera. It was like small enough to fit into my jacket pocket, and I could take it around everywhere. And I was posting like very frequently, and there were some videos they wouldn't have a lot of views on them, but it allowed me to just get a lot of practice. It allowed me to get more comfortable in front of the camera, because that's another thing. Like you might have all the equipment, but then you need to get used to actually filming and talking in front of the camera. So maybe it's like you could think of it as, in the meantime, I'm just practicing and getting better. And then I'm building my equipment over time. And then it's going to ultimately lead to a better outcome.
Yeah, I was watching like your videos from like, I think like 5-6 years ago. And it's like I think it's the RX. Like, yeah, you have a little tiny camera.
Yeah.
Your gear list is literally like camera and like,
yeah.
And like it's really
That's
simple.
It.
And then
my phone. I think I had my phone because I would use like iPhone videos too.
Yeah, and it was super refreshing, because it's like, dude, she's just telling great stories. She's just showcasing her life, and then I feel like your camera presence. It's very. I think it's just. I'm guessing it's just like how you are, but you're very. It seems like you just. It feels like when I watch your videos, as I'm watching, I'm like hanging out with a friend, and so in my mind, and it's like. It just seems very authentic. You're not putting on the, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Like you're like, hey guys, it's kchoi here, and today I'm flying to Dubai, and it's very like personable, like, and you seem very comfortable on camera. Like, how did you get comfortable on camera and kind of just be
Mm.
chill and yourself?
Yeah. Again, I think it's just practice. And I also, in middle school and high school, I was in like a youth group organization, kind of like a community service, like youth group. And I did a lot of like public speaking practice in that. And so I think that kind of helped a bit. Um, there's also like a little behind the scenes is, I am talking to the camera, and for the most part, I'm speaking just, spontaneously. But there are other times where I'm like thinking, okay, so I need to like say this and this. And like, I know I've got these meetings. So I have to sort of like highly script it in my head and then kind of do it on camera, but come off natural. So there is like, it's not all just spontaneous. Like I am being intentional because I still want the flow of the vlog, to be interesting. If I'm doing like a day in my life video, for example.
Okay. Because I was like, oh, that's relieving. I was like, wow, she's just I think if you make 300 videos, you just become super natural and you can just shoot a day in your life and then edit it in 2 hours. Because I took Casey Neistat's like filmmaking course, and then he says he could shoot one of those vlogs. By the time he did 500 of them, he could edit it. He just needed 21 minutes of footage to shoot like a 10-minute vlog, because he knew, okay, let's get the wide establishing. Okay, let's get the medium talking ahead of me, explaining the goal. Okay, now let's do the action, transition shots, play it to music, cut it to the beat. Okay, now in scene 2, talk, set it up. Scene 3, resolve it. Like, and then he would just do 21 minutes. But like, I just shot a decluttering my bedroom video. And it was 10 days of cleaning, and it's like a terabyte of footage.
Oh my gosh.
And I had 3 cameras, and I was like, so I'm editing it right now. My Final Cut's dying. So I'm super curious. Like, yeah, just can you take us through your vlogging process a little more? Like, how do you think of like what you touched on, like scripting? How do you shoot it? How do you edit it?
Yeah, I think I fall like somewhere in between like those two styles. Like definitely nowhere near the level of Casey Neistat, but then the way you described it is I think what I aim to do for some certain vlogs. And it's where I would apply that to a day where it's like I'm going to the office that day, and then I'm like, I know I've got like a certain type of interesting meeting that I can describe, for my channel. And then I've got like a happy hour, and then like whatever, like I'm going to do a nighttime routine. So if I know that, like, it's like I think about that ahead of time, and then I will, as I go, I'll like then try to think of interesting shots to include. So I think Casey Neistat probably goes like even further with the storyboarding ahead of time. So I think it's not quite there, but it's also not just like setting up my camera, like, and then just going along my day. I still do kind of think about, okay, I'll first like talk to the camera, and then I'm going to film like a time lapse of me working. And then I know that I'm going to head to the office later. So I'll get some shots of, me scanning, like going into the subway and things like that. So I do like try to envision some of these scenes. And then on days where I do a lot of that envisioning and storyboarding, light storyboarding ahead of time, the editing is much faster because I kind of know like what's going to come next. Now, on the flip side, as you were referring to earlier, I went to Abu Dhabi recently for a work trip. And for that, I did not really like think ahead of like what I'm going to film. So I've got a lot of footage that I'm just kind of sorting through. Like I have a couple of things where like on the airplane, I did a little bit of like vlogging and like speaking to the camera, and then a little bit at the end, but the middle is just kind of all over the place. So we'll see how that goes. When it comes to that, I just kind of have to go through the footage and kind of move things around. So that one will take me a little bit longer for sure.
Whoa. So if for the one where you storyboard a little more, are you thinking of it as like any like broad structure, like for the whole video? Like, kind of know Casey, his whole thing is like, okay, I have a goal, and then there's an obstacle, and then I resolve it. He follows like the 3-act structure. Like, Do you have anything like that in mind? Or is it just like, I'm just capturing the cool stuff that's happening? And
Yeah, it's more like the second. It's more like capturing the interesting parts of my day, and then around it, just making sure that, like, what I found is I would fall into this, I guess, trap. I don't have a better word for it, of just filming things, but then I don't have enough of me kind of talking to the camera or giving explanation or setting context. And so that, I feel like, is where my content gets less engaging if I don't have me setting context. So I just try to, for me, I think it's knowing what those key moments of the day are, and then making sure I'm setting the context, whether it is verbally or like if there are other ways to do it, just like with a certain, filming of a certain object or building or something. Yeah. So I think of it that way. I think I'm not advanced enough yet to think of like a story and a obstacle and resolution, but I would love to get to that point.
No, I remember I feel like one of your videos, I forget, it was like one city, I think you were on a boat and there was this wide shot of the city skyline. And then you did some cool music drops, and then you dropped I was like, dude, that's really cool. I might have been in New York.
Was it one of my New York videos where I kind of went to a few different food spots?
I think so.
I think it was like the Brooklyn Bridge in the opening scene.
Something like where I was like, oh, wow. Like, she's like, this is really cool. Like, you established it. You didn't even have to say anything. I was like, okay, this is happening. Like, this is what we're doing. Like,
yeah.
How long does it take you to come up with that? Like, if you're doing a day in your life as a consultant, like, how long does it take to storyboard that rough outline? And then how much are you actually shooting?
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, it kind of depends day by day. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I want to vlog today. And so I vlog it. Other times it's like, I know ahead of time if I'm going to the office or I have a work trip. And so I can like think about it in my head a bit more. The extent of my storyboarding is just my notes app and like maybe a few bullet points of like the key things that are happening that day, so that I know for sure that I want to record those, and that, I need to force myself to like set some context, even though sometimes it's embarrassing if you're like vlogging in public and things like that. But that's kind of the extent of it. So it doesn't take that long. It's just kind of looking at my calendar really when it comes to a consultant vlog. And in terms of editing and filming, I think I similarly, like to what the Casey and Neistat example, like I probably for a day in my life video have a maximum of like 20 minutes of footage. Unless there's like a time-lapse video where I just recorded like for a really long time, but I guess I would count that as something shorter. But yeah, and then I cut it down to like 10 minutes maybe.
And how long does that take you to edit?
That also depends, but I think like if I have a couple hours, I can do like the rough cut of it. And then I need another probably couple hours to like fine tune and add like the title screens and like, sync things to the music if I want it to be like that. But what I find the most efficient for me is like the day of or the day after I've filmed, like getting that rough cut done, because everything's fresh in my brain. I can even tell just by looking at the clip, like, oh, I know that I can just cut to the middle here because that's where I like restarted my spiel for the context setting. So like editing things like as soon as I'm done filming or very soon after is helpful. And then doing the fine tuning stuff, like I can do that a little bit later, but I'm definitely the quickest when I can do it like immediately after filming.
Wow. I feel like you're saying everything that Casey taught us, but like you just knew it.
Okay, so that tells me I need to create a class or a course.
Yeah, no, I seriously think if you do videos about vlogging, like I'd be, because
okay, well, this is giving me ideas, so thank you.
Yeah, if you can just shoot everything in 20, because I have 16 hours of footage, like, and I'm like, yesterday I was like, dude, I don't know if I can get through this video. This is just too much. I went a little crazy.
A decluttering video though is by nature going to have way more footage, so like I understand that.
Yeah, it's going to be like tons of time lapses, but
yeah, exactly.
Well, it's okay. So Well, can you tell us? So you did Vlogmas, you did Vlogust.
Mhm.
That's something I actually want to try out, like just to get the quantity and practice and get the
Yeah.
reps in. Because when I was a songwriter in LA, I did 30 days, 30 songs. I made an
Mhm.
album in like 2
Oh,
weeks. Like
wow.
make a
Cool.
demo, record it. So it's like a recorded demo every 2 days, and then I got a lot better, and I actually got a lot of songs that were actually like I made it to my album from those like
Oh, nice.
high quantity pushes. Like for Vlogmas, yeah, I guess how was that experience?
Yeah.
And were there any? Would you do it again? Like, what'd you learn? Like all that.
Yeah. So with Vlogmas and Vlogust, I forgot who I got the concept of Vlogust for, but it was another vlogger that I saw who had done it, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And any kind of daily vlogging. I have to give credit to my friend Joan. She's a YouTuber content creator. She's known as Joan Day on YouTube and socials. She visited me when I was in London for grad school. So she came and stayed with me for a couple of weeks and we went traveling together. And that was during the time of her first year daily vlogging. So it was like the year 2017 or like end of 2016 through 2017. She had decided that she was going to do what she called Joan Day 365 or 365, like vlogging every single day.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, so that was a huge undertaking, which she succeeded in. And I had the pleasure of like being able to see that firsthand and how she did it. And at that point, I also had been making videos for a few months, right? I had been doing my weekly vlogs, and all of that, but, she kind of really helped me. Also, she like helped promote my channel because we were both traveling together and cross promoting our vlogs, like we went to Paris and it's like, okay, go watch her vlog now. One thing I learned was, in order to be really consistent, I posted things kind of on a 2-day like lag, if that makes sense. So if I filmed something on a Thursday, that wouldn't go up until Saturday. But then, so that allows me time to be able to edit while still like making sure things are going up in a timely manner. So with the Vlogust vlogs, I don't remember like if I had either started it on August 3rd or if I like had filmed like on July 30th and then posted that on August 1st or something like that. But yeah, that's kind of like something that makes it easier to post every single day.
I remember you were like in Cinque Terre with your mom, and then like, then you were like in Florence, and then you were like, I was like, how are you traveling?
I was just doing it while traveling.
Editing like how long did it take you to edit? Because I did a Rome Best Pizza in Rome vlog, and it took me like a week. Like, and I was like, when I'm seeing you pump these out every day, it's like, how long did that take you?
Yeah, well, I think the difference is, if you're doing a like Best Pizza in Rome vlog, that's more like a compilation, right? And so it's going to take time to like bring together the different things. Whereas when it's daily vlogging, it really is like quantity over quality, right? And so, sometimes it was just like stringing together a few clips and like maybe making a few adjustments and then like calling it a day. And there were also like ways that I got around making sure I had content every day was sometimes the video wouldn't be a vlog, but it was like a cover of a song from La La Land, or it was like a different type of video, like a Q&A or something. So that's another way where you can still satisfy that daily content push. And for the people who are expecting like new content at the same time every day, like there's still something there for them. But it helps you be a little bit more realistic with your workload.
So would you get back from like dinner at like 8 or something, and then you just edit till like 11, and then?
Yeah, and actually, like when Joan and I were traveling together, in a few places in Europe, we would just get onto our computers and edit, like at the end of the day.
Wow, because I was so impressed you did Vlogust, and then you're talking about Joan doing vlogs for 365 days.
Yeah, it was so impressive.
You guys are on another level.
I learned so much. So like I kind of always joke to her that she's my YouTube mom because she taught me a lot. So,
well, I guess like when you, how do you manage when you're vlogging, how do you kind of approach it with vlogging when you're with your friends? Because I know, especially just for me as I'm getting older, like a lot of my friends, if they're working professionals, they don't really, if we're getting beers in someone's backyard, they don't really want to be on camera necessarily. Like stuff like that. Like, how do you kind of manage that? Because it seems like your friends are all super supportive and they like, I can tell they're like excited to be on the vlog and stuff. But
Yeah. I think it's just that it's my friends luckily are really supportive and they'll like help me out. Like I'm going on a trip soon with a few friends, and I was telling them, I'm excited to vlog like all the places. One of my friends was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like there's no videos out there about Puerto Rico that are super helpful. So like whatever video you make is going to be great. And then I was asking them like, oh, can you guys make sure you take a lot of like vertical videos so that I could also make like reels and TikToks and stuff? And they're like, yeah, definitely. So I think like I'm lucky that I have like supportive friends. Also, I find it almost easier to vlog in public when I'm with friends because I've got like the buffer of people around me. Even if they're not on camera, it's like I have people with me, but like if I'm out by myself, I have to muster up so much courage to talk on camera. So actually I prefer having my friends around me so that I can vlog.
yeah, I did a best pizza in Naples that I still need to edit and post, but
Yeah.
I was eating in a restaurant myself and I was like, man, I don't know how Strictly Dumpling does this. I'm getting self-conscious. I have this like lab poking out and I'm like,
I know it's so, it takes me so much time. Like I'll be walking down like an avenue in New York and it's like, I in my head, I know I'm going to turn on the camera. I'm going to go, hey, like I just finished work. I'm going to go have dinner with blah, blah, blah. But it takes me like 20 blocks and I'm still like thinking about it in my head. And then finally, like I muster up the courage and then it's like, fine. It's like as if no one is around me. But it's just like that, taking that initial step, takes a lot. I've been getting better at it, obviously over the past few years. But there's also still times where I'll be vlogging and then I like notice someone walking really close to me and then I just like need to start over. So that's like the reality of vlogging. But I do think there's people out there who just like, totally don't care and can feel very free in themselves to vlog in public.
yeah, well, it's cool to hear that you feel like nervousness in public sometimes, but you just push through it. And
yeah.
And you've done this like 300 times. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like it helps being in New York because I think people literally don't care like what other people are doing here. And they see way crazier things on the street or just things happening. And there's so much like stimuli out there that if someone's recording themselves on the camera, like no one's really gonna bat an eye. So that's like what I tell myself when I try to muster up the courage.
Yeah, I found that like when I bust out like my DJI Pocket, I have the Pocket 2 too, and it's like,
yeah, I love that camera.
People actually, yeah, it's such a good camera, and like, but people are like, they think it's cool sometimes. So like, oh, dude, you do YouTube, and I it was actually supportive.
Oh, cool. Like, yeah, I think that's the thing is like we get so worried about like people who are gonna think it's weird or they're just not gonna understand. But I feel like more times than not, people are like curious and interested, and then think it's cool. So I guess that's another thing to just kind of tell ourselves,
And kind of on that note, with getting over like our own internal voices and stuff before pressing like record.
Yeah.
I noticed you had, and you talked about it in Samcha, like you had braces for like adult braces for a while.
Yeah.
And you're vlogging, and I was just like, dang, that's super cool that like I've had cold sores before on my lips, and I'm like, well, I got to make my video this week. So people are just they're going to get to know me better. Like, I don't care. And then, but it's not easy though. Like, how did you just like vlog and put yourself out there with braces?
Yeah.
Like, was it a thing?
I mean, I think it was a thing for like a second, but like, what am I going to do? Just like not do that. So yeah, I think I just kind of got over it. It was also like I was meeting a bunch of new people in grad school as well with braces. But again, it's like we care way more about like our insecurities and the things that we think stand out than other people. Cause like if I were to meet someone who had braces, like I wouldn't think that that was weird, you know? So I think it's like similar to what we were just saying, like constantly just like reminding ourselves that like people literally don't care. And if anything, like they'll like think it's cool or like they'll appreciate it, you know? And it's again, easier said than done, but that's the reminder that we have to give ourselves.
Yeah, I was definitely really inspired to see you just like it feels like you're just like it's very natural for you to just express yourself. And it's like it's yeah. Cause I was like, anyone that can make videos for 7 years and like just keep making videos. Cause I know so many of like my creator friends, they get the gear. The first 2 videos are like really well lit, composed, audios, like all EQ'd. And then they just stop making videos because it's a lot of judgment or they're not, it's actually not that fun for them. Like, so it's just really cool to see you. Like you're just like vlogging and your friends are like next to you and you're having fun and then like
just enjoy it.
Yeah. And then I'm like,
I mean,
oh,
yeah,
man,
it's like if we're not having fun, like I feel like that's why YouTube and like Instagram and all of that, it started out with just like people wanting to share stuff. So I think like trying as much as possible to keep that spirit. Obviously, like all the social media platforms have evolved so much, but that's like at the core of it, I think. And if you don't have that at the core, I do think it is difficult to keep that consistency up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a good reminder. It really is. Well, like on just kind of like on the mindset piece, I know just you've been working like full time the whole time. Like how did you manage making a channel while having like an employer? And cause I know when I was like at Goldman and stuff, like I never thought of doing a YouTube channel because at least well banking, everything's so confidential and like so strict that it didn't even cross my mind to like, I wish I did. I wish I had seen channels like yours to know that it's possible. So like, yeah, how did you kind of approach that?
Yeah, I think I feel lucky because my job that I got out of grad school, and I'm still with the same company, but then we got acquired a couple of years ago by a much bigger, well-known consulting firm. But when I started out, we were a boutique consulting firm, and I don't know, I just kind of used my discretion, knowing that I'm not going to be sharing client names. I'm not going to be like actually taking footage of my work that I'm doing. But, I didn't see why I couldn't just share, what is consulting. And yeah, I'm going on this trip so that I could have a client meeting. We're going to talk about, we're going to review some things. So I think also, but again, because it was a smaller company, I think I felt a bit more comfortable doing that. And then also my coworkers actually just like thought it was so cool and they would share it with clients all the time. Like we'd be doing intros, for a project kickoff and I'd introduce myself and then someone on the team is like, oh, but what she's not telling you is that she has a YouTube channel where blah, 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 blah. So I think first of all, I just got lucky with my situation. And then now that I am, technically part of a much bigger firm, I'm just a little bit more cautious about like making sure like I'm keeping the confidentiality and all of that. But again, like I'm never sharing like where I work specifically or who I'm working for. So I feel as long as I do those things, then it's okay. I don't know, like there might be I know like some companies, there are like specific policies around it. So I just try to be careful.
Yeah, I interviewed Christine Wong, like the tech consultant YouTuber. And she actually cleared it with her consulting firm's HR, and then she just basically follows the policy. And I was like seeing your channel, like I was like, yeah, I wish I knew it was like, I wish I knew it was possible because I would have started YouTube way earlier. It just never crossed my mind back then.
Yeah. And Christine, I love that her content, it's like she has that specificity of like working at this company and all of that. I think I'm too paranoid to like share that even if it was like within like if it's cleared or whatever. That's just like a personal thing for me too. I like to keep it a little more like generic and
High
anonymous.
level.
But I will say, like, sometimes I do wish I could share just so that I can be that much more helpful, for people who are interested in like that specific company or, similar ones. But luckily there's channels like Christine's that kind of provide that information as well.
Yeah. And like, I know you touched on it before, like, in your work-life balance video, but yeah, what's your take on doing YouTube full-time versus part-time?
Yeah, I think the tricky thing that I've always, thought about is my channel is about like primarily about my job, right? So it's about consulting and like what it's like to be a consultant. And so if I take that away, I would have to kind of expand on other types of content. And I think while I think that that's possible, I don't know that focusing primarily on YouTube or other content creation is my personal goal at the time, like at this current moment. Again, we've talked about how much work it is to plan a video, to film a video. Maybe you could get an editor, to help out with that. But that plus the pressure and like the unknown nature of the algorithm and all of that, it all kind of scares me, to be honest. At the same time, I do think, let's say I did like really want to do this and like make YouTube my full-time thing. Like I do see the value in just like dropping the full-time job and then like really dedicating myself and like putting in the time and effort, because in reality, I haven't allowed myself to do that, right? It's like I'm operating on like just like a percentage of my capacity to give to YouTube. So while it's like on one hand, I'm like, I'm not sure if like I could even make it, on the other hand, it's like I haven't given myself the like time or chance to do that. But where I'm at right now is that the kind of work and effort required for that is not what I'm looking for. I prefer right now the stability of my job that I do really enjoy, and then also be able to have this creative outlet. So that's what works for me at the moment.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing your experience, because I feel like that question's so personal for people. But it's very cool to hear like everyone's own path to their own like self-expression and helping people.
Mm-hmm.
Like to hear that, you really enjoy your full-time job, but this for you is like a creative fun outlet, and to see like how much joy you have when you're just vlogging, it's like, dude, that's super cool. Like you don't have like it doesn't seem like you have the extra stuff that like sometimes I have wanting to make this full time. It's like, oh man, like when am I going to monetize, or like what kind of offer can I have? Like it's, for me, I personally prefer it, but I know everyone has their different paths. So like, it's really cool to hear what's working for you, because I think that could help a lot of people that are also, they want like the stability of their jobs. They like their jobs, but they want an outlet.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it is like part of it is a personality thing where like anyone who's like starting their own business or like just like doing their own thing, it's like there's going to be the period where you're just like investing your time and resources. And that's just the reality, right? But then it ends up, you end up with something that like you've created and that you're proud of and is succeeding. So I think like my brother, I think is more like that. Like he has a food truck that, he owns and runs. And so he has a bit more of that like entrepreneurial spirit. I think for me, I'm a little bit less like that. So I think personality comes into play for sure.
Yeah. Just like you mentioned, like time and like resources, and this takes a lot of time. Can you walk us through, like you're the pro at this, but like a typical day in the life? I know there's no typical day, but what's the typical day in the life as a change management consultant and YouTuber? Like when you're making stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say I'm filming let's say I'm filming a week in my life. I'm going to say I'm filming a week in my life as a consultant vlog, because I'll go back and forth between doing a day in my life and a week in my life. And usually I'll do a day in my life if there is just like something really exciting happening that day that is going to be a focal point, or there's just like a lot of things going on. So there's enough time to fill a single vlog, right, with one day. And then if it's a week, it's kind of the same principle, but it's just the things are spread out over a week. So it's like I might have a client meeting that I'm traveling for on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then like Thursday maybe is just like a day where I'm like on a bunch of phone calls. But then Friday, I have like a lot of open time on my calendar where I can actually like do some work. Right. So if I'm looking at my week and I see that I've got kind of that variety of things going on, then I'll plan to film that week. And really what it looks like is just each day. When it's a week in my life, it's a little bit less pressure because I don't feel pressure to film everything like for the whole day. I'm really kind of focusing on like what's the key thing that's happening. And it could be things that are work related. So it could be like interesting meetings and things like that. Or it could be personal. So like maybe I'm going to a concert or like have dinner with a friend or something, or I'm getting my hair cut. And so just anything that gives insight into like the variety of the week is what I'm looking for. And so I'll kind of collect those clips throughout the week. Sometimes I will edit as I go and like import the footage, like edit as I go throughout the week. That's how I used to do it when I was in grad school in London. And then other times I'll do it all together at the end of the week. But definitely doing it as I go is more efficient because I just, again, the footage is more fresh in my mind. But yeah, again, like, as you said, there's no typical, but it is just kind of thinking about the interesting key moments of the day and then making sure that I'm setting up my like film setup, thinking about the context I'm setting, and going from there.
And like and I know you talked about it in a video where your work schedule, I think it's your most recent video actually, like it's not, you find time to create when you can, and it's not like a set thing. Like, would you say, how much would you say you're spending, like you get to spend on this, like on YouTube, like in say a given month?
Like money or like time or?
Oh, time.
How much time am I spending like making YouTube videos? I mean, again, if we say that maybe it takes me like 3-4 hours in total to like edit a video. And if I'm doing like 2 to 4 videos a month, we can kind of do the math with that, with the editing. And then filming again is not really that much, right? Because it's like, if I'm doing a day in my life, I maybe have like 20 minutes of total footage and then I edit it down. So yeah, I'm really not good at doing quick math, so I don't think I can give you a number on the spot right now.
All right, well, that'll be an interactive portion for the
yes,
audience.
Exactly.
Do the math right now.
Yes.
Well, with this is, I'm curious about this, since you kind of are documenting your life, and that's what I like about vlogs too. It's like we get to document our lives. Like, how do you manage the footage you shoot for your vlogs versus the stuff you capture that you're going to share with your friends and family? Like on a logistical level, like, because for me, I'm like, okay, do I put this on Google Photos? All this B-roll for a vlog is not what someone wants to really see in a Google Drive. Like,
yeah. This is where I should probably take Casey Neistat's class, or if he has one about like footage storage, because I've seen where he just has like all these hard drives that are like labeled by year and month and all of that. I'm really bad. I just like delete footage like when I'm done with like making a vlog. Because yeah, for me, it's like it's like almost like a scrapbook. Like if you have a scrapbook where it's like you take the photos and you're going to cut the photos up and you're going to like add in the stickers, and then that's what you're going to look back on. And then you don't need like all the scraps. So that's kind of how I see it. And I could probably be much more organized, but again, I started YouTube where like I just dove in and I kind of figured it out as I went. And I haven't really like paused to kind of take inventory, organize myself. I think I just like slowly improve over time.
Yeah, it just feels like an extension of you, and it's so natural, and you're just having a lot of fun, and that's like, it's very cool to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure some people are like cringing though at like how unorganized I am, so I won't like go too much into that.
No, I mean, I've asked, like, I always love hearing about people's workflows. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think most people, their storage stuff is like crazy. Or like,
Yeah, digital organization is tough.
yeah. But I like how you're so zen about it. You're like, the important thing was the actual like video, and now I don't need
Yeah.
all the onion scraps. I made
Yeah,
the
exactly.
caramelized thing on the burger.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that's another good metaphor.
I keep all the scraps, and it's like, oh man, I have a terabyte. Like, what am I gonna do with this? Like, if I ever need B-roll of my Roomba, yeah.
Like, exactly, because Casey Neistat, I remember seeing a video where he like put in footage from like 2003 or something because he had it and he knew exactly where it was. So it's like, I'm never going to be able to do that. The most I can do is like taking a clip from like an already made vlog, which for me, that's good enough because it's like, that's already the best of whatever I was going to include. So that's how I like to look at it.
So efficient. I guess what are some of your favorite YouTube channels? Like, were there people that inspired you? You mentioned like Joan was a friend that like gave you a lot of like guidance, but like, were there other people you're like, oh yeah, like I love watching their stuff? And
yes. Maybe I'll work backwards of like, I can first think of like the ones I'm watching a lot these days. And then I think others will come to me from the past. But I recently have really been liking Paige Wassell's videos. So she is a prop stylist by day. Like that's her job. Like a freelance prop stylist. So, like Architectural Digest videos, like she would be like the person who sets up the basket of limes for Dakota Johnson's, home tour, that kind of thing. I don't think she did that specifically, but she does videos about interiors and design, and she has just a very like authentic way of filming her videos. She's also one who just like feels like she's chatting to a friend. There's like, she doesn't like insert all this formality or anything, but it's still super interesting because she's sharing not only like her background as a prop stylist, but then just her opinions on design, which can be polarizing at times, but she's just so confident in her own interests. So I love her videos. And then I also love Whitney Port. So she was on the MTV show The Hills. I don't know if you like ever watched that back in like the early 2000s. Yeah. So she was on that show. And then she had a spin-off show called The City that was based in New York. And then in 2020, when lockdown started, she and her husband, who was a producer on The City, or like an assistant producer or something, they met on set. They started reacting to the old videos of The City. And then they started reacting to videos of The Hills and then Laguna Beach. And they're just like super funny, like endearing. There's all these like inside jokes. The edits are on point. So I get a lot of like joy out of watching their videos as well. And then if I go like way back, I loved like all of it was called like the Brit Crew or something, like casually, but it was just all of these British YouTubers. So this was back in like 2012-ish. Very popular British YouTubers who were like all friends. So they all appear in each other's videos, and they would do like challenge videos were really big at the time. So they'd do like challenge videos and do vlogs. So that's kind of what got me into watching a lot of YouTube. And then along the way, I've found different channels, intriguing and inspiring. But yeah, those are kind of the key ones that come to mind.
Yeah, like it's really cool to see you kind of create your own style through your vlogs. And to me, it feels like it's a style like is very organic. Like you didn't seem like you took classes and like applied like a methodology. It's like you literally just carved out footage from a big block of like terabytes of footage. You just carved out your own Michelangelo, like your own David, like, and it's your own style. Like, how did you improve your editing?
So I did take a film class in high school. So that's where I first learned just like the basics of editing. Mm-hmm. And then in college, one of my friends, Olivia, and Olivia was also in FICB, and I don't know, Eunice might know her too. But Olivia was also like really into making videos. So we would always end up making like these like fun compilation videos and things like that for our friends. So got a little bit of, practice there. But I think it was just from absorbing and watching a lot of content and like seeing vlog content and seeing like, oh, I like how they did that like title for the day of the week, and getting inspiration from that. Or, oh, like I like the way how they were doing like a voiceover at this part. So if you also, you've gone back and kind of looked at a lot of my videos, I think you can see like the style changing, like even if it's subtly. And that's because, again, it's like I was taking inspiration from like absorbing a lot of content and then just like trying out things that worked for me.
Got it. So it was like a lot of practicing, and over time it evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, and it's cool. Now you have your podcast with Samcha with your friends, and yeah, that's another theme I wanted to ask you about. It's like, I noticed that you seem to be a really good friend, and like you have
really
all your
nice.
vlog. Yeah, like you have all your friends in your vlogs. These guys seem like you're just chilling, and like you guys are having wine doing podcasts. Like I was like, man, I wish I could get like some wine and sit on some grass with my friend and talk about stuff.
Oh yeah,
and like
that was a fun video.
It just feels like we're like, as an audience, I'm like, oh, we're just hanging out with kchoi and her friends talking about stuff. Like, and I know you mentioned and you do all these great Q&As, and you mentioned you get a lot of your security because you have a great family and friend like support network. So that actually really stood out to me. It's like, yeah, could you just talk a little bit more about how you kind of made good friendships, deep friendships that give you that kind of security?
Yeah. Yeah, like my really close friends. So I think I developed and like grew those really deep friendships more in college and after college, surprisingly. Which is interesting because like my husband, for example, well, he might be a weird example because he just has a lot of friends, but like he has friends from elementary school, from middle school, from high school, and like he keeps those friends. For me, for whatever reason, like I got really lucky again. I feel like I'm just very blessed and lucky, to be honest. But my college roommates, there were 4 of us, and like I just feel like it's so rare for 4 like very different people to live together and then continue to live together. And like, I hear of people like they change roommates every year, or they like move out, right? And like go to a different apartment. But for some reason, like the 4 of us are very different, but I think it's just like finding people who have the same values as you. And we talked about this on a podcast episode of like what you look for in a friend. I think it might have been like last like couple podcast episodes ago. But like what's kind of the key thing you look for? And then for me, like my first answer for some reason was humor, but I think like it's a little deeper than just like laughing at the same stuff. It's just like when you do have that humor and a bit of shared humor, or at least understanding of each other's humor, it like tells you a lot about the person as well, and like the things that either make them tick or the things that make them laugh. And when you're laughing and able to share those things, it's like you're more open as a person too. And so you're like, when you're laughing, I feel like you're just so relaxed, and like that's when you're at like one form of your truest self. So yeah, that's definitely something I look for, is like really clicking in that like humor front, which like helps, I think, break the walls down and like help you be more comfortable with your friends. I feel like that was very long-winded of a response.
No, I love it. I love it. That reminds me, there's like a Rick Rubin. He put out this like the Creative Act book recently. It's like, I think there's some quote where it's like, for an artist, try to cultivate a place where it's safe for you to express the things you're afraid to express. So like, that just really resonates what you just said about like finding friends where your truest self, and for you, laughter is a way to kind of a doorway into that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that resonates with me for sure.
And is overall, can just on advice for creators, like what advice would you give yourself if you were starting out like all over again, like rewind 7 years, like what things would you do, and then what things would you not do?
Mm. I think things I would do is like definitely keep the consistency. Like I was really on top of it with, I'm going to post a video every week or every like 3 times a week or whatever goal it was that I had set. And I was really good about like planning for and sticking to it. So I think I definitely continue to do that. Things to not do. I think just like not being nervous or embarrassed about vlogging, because I always think of all the like lost opportunities of cool things that I could have captured if I had just been like more relaxed about it. So yeah, I think that maybe would be advice that I would give to myself back then and even now.
Got it. So get the shot. Like if you have
Yeah, I get the shot, but it's like again, it's coming from a place of like where you're just so like excited and having fun that it doesn't matter. Like the other external things don't matter.
oh, I love, yeah. So stay in the zone and just
Yeah,
have fun, and then just go for it. Don't like get to your head and not do it.
yeah. Because then also like the worst thing that can happen is like, okay, if like you got that footage or whatever and it didn't work, but at least like you tried. And if on the flip side, you could capture something that's really cool that you would love to have.
Yeah, I try to do this. I heard this quote like where it's, if you have a generous thought, always go with it. So then I try to do that in general, but then for then I apply that to filming. I was like, okay, if you want to shoot something, shoot it.
Yeah.
And I think of like Casey. Have you seen Casey's video where he the Nike one where he travels around the world like in like 10 days or something?
There's like a motorcycle outside my building.
Oh, New York City. There you go.
I don't recall that one specifically, but there was a period where I was watching like Casey Neistat's vlogs every single day when he was like posting every day when he lived in New York. And I definitely found so much inspiration from him and a lot of like motivation to just get out there and vlog. So
yeah, I love your advice. Just have fun, and then don't be afraid to just capture cool moments. And with kind of shifting gears into like the monetization side of things, like do you have advice for people on how to like reach out or work with sponsors, how to negotiate with them? Because a lot of times, we're as creators, like it might be a creator's first time negotiating a deal, but whereas a sponsor, they've done it like 1,000 times. So like, yeah, any advice from you be super helpful.
I think starting out with brands that you like already love and use, and if there's examples of it already in your content, like that is the most natural first place to start. So one of the first like sponsorships I did was with Warby Parker, and I don't remember if I think I had reached out to them potentially. I can't really remember, but like I have this pair of glasses. They're this like gray, like kind of, I think it's acetate. Is that like the material? Like kind of like the plastic frame glasses. And I literally, to this day, like if I have a video with those glasses on, I'm going to get at least one comment about them asking where they're from. And so I think I like had like reached out to Warby Parker because they're from Warby Parker and did a sponsored video with them. So I think starting out with brands that just are a natural fit, and then you're going to get like, if you have an email set up, right, for brands to reach you or whatever, like you're probably going to start to get just like the most random brands and things like that. I think like be picky and like, I think you could always like just like learn a bit more of like what they're looking for. Like, are they just providing product? Are they like, do they have a budget in mind? So I think like you could use it as an opportunity just to like learn more about, the negotiation and monetization side of it. In terms of negotiation, I mean, that was really tricky for me. I remember like Googling like how to figure out your rate and all of that. It was hard, but I ended up getting a manager about like a couple of years ago. So they really helped me do all the negotiating. So That's super helpful. There is this app called Rella, Rella, and it's a creator like content planning app. But there's also like crowdsourced information of like rates that people have gotten and like how big their channel is and stuff like that. So, Rella, like I used to work with, the founder of Rella as like she used to help me manage my channel. And then now I work with, Connecta Social. Shout out to Kayla, for being a great manager for me. But yeah, anyway, so Rella is like a really helpful resource, I think. And like they're all about kind of making it really transparent and easy for creators. So that's me like kind of, giving you a resource to go and check out, since I don't know that I'm the expert in that.
Finger snaps to that. That's super helpful. I'm definitely gonna check out Rella and direct you to that. And on the kind of like engaging, like interacting with your audience, like you have a lot of subscribers, right? Like 150,000, and you're getting comments, you're getting DMs. Like, how do you manage like responding or not responding? Like, how do you kind of do that where you kind of can still live your life and not like be constantly responding?
Yeah, I mean, I think also the comments like come in waves because it's like, going to be the highest one, like it's like the day or the first few days that a video is posted. So I think that helps out. I think I just like kind of monitor, and like throughout the day, to see if I do have any new comments and DMs. In terms of DMs, like I am a little bit more picky about the ones I respond to there because I get a lot of like really specific like DMs of like, hey, like I majored in engineering, but like I'm interested in like working in this kind of job. Like, what kind of specialization or skills do you think I need? And like it gets very, very specific where I don't feel like qualified enough to give a response. But where I do respond is if I feel like it's something that's like very directly related to my experience. So for example, I've had someone reach out to me about advice about like UCL, where I went to for grad school. So I was happy to provide kind of my experience and perspective. So yeah, I kind of filter based on that of like, is it something that like I can directly apply to my personal experience and I think it's going to be helpful? Or is it something that's just like a little bit too specific or out of my experience where I don't think it's going to be a good use of my time?
Very cool. Very cool. So where you can be the most helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Well, moving into the rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay. What's your favorite piece of gear for YouTube?
My DJI camera.
Okay. Wait. Well, actually, do you use that furry mic? That's your main mic now?
I have been using it a lot more lately because it's like this. Yeah. So I was this was lightning round. So I was like, or like rapid fire. But if I were specific, I would say that little mic. It's like a wireless, like Bluetooth mic that comes with the DJI camera. So I do love that thing because it's like,
wait, are you able
when
to
it's a
hide
busy, no, I just have it sticking out.
Okay.
It's fine. But like, especially on like a busy New York street, it's like, it helps me feel more discreet because I'm not like yelling to project for the camera to hear me. So it's like, I can kind of speak at a more normal level. So actually that has helped me break out of that, nervousness of vlogging in public.
Okay. DJI Pocket 2 creator combo. Okay. People from Lucali's in Brooklyn or Poeta in Rome. I've seen you vlog about both.
Oh yeah. And I have to say Lucali, I think, because I have been there more times. And I love it was the calzone. There's a Nutella ricotta calzone from Poeta, which was delicious, but I'm more of a savory than a sweet person. So I'd have to go pizza at Lucali.
There we go. Favorite book you've read in the last 12 months?
Ooh, I've been on like a reading slump, but I'm just at the start of like getting back into reading. I just finished reading The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, which was very fun.
Cool. And favorite skincare product?
The new Crave Beauty SPF, Beat the Sun sunscreen. It's like it's very lightweight. Yeah.
Silky smooth. Okay. And if you weren't working on YouTube as a hobby, what would you be doing?
I think I would still be traveling a lot. I think like traveling would still be my thing. But I just wouldn't be making YouTube videos about it.
And if your place was burning down and your family's assuming they're all safe, what 3 things did you grab first?
Oh my gosh. My phone, to be honest. My DJI camera. And then my like wedding photo book.
Oh, nice. And if you could jump into a time, and you're good, and you're what?
I said that was hard.
Yeah, that was. It sounds like you got those are like really good picks. If you could jump into a time machine and go into any place in time for 30 minutes in all of history, who would you talk to?
Ooh, I think Freddie Mercury.
Whoa, okay. Oh yeah, and if you're listening out there, you should check out kchoi's covers on her channel.
Oh my
They're
God.
really cool.
No, you don't need to do that.
No, really, seriously. And and then what's a favorite what's one of your favorite quotes?
Oh, one of my favorite quotes is everything happens for a reason. And it's very simple, but there is like a bit of backstory as well as to like why I love it so much. Is like I have always loved that idea. Everything happens for a reason. And then I was in like a European country, like went to this castle thing, and this guy was doing calligraphy and just like handing out little strips of paper. And then I didn't say a word to him. And then he was like, he started looked at me, like started writing something, and he wrote omnia causa fiunt, which I guess is Latin. And I looked at it and I was like, does this mean everything happens for a reason? And he was like, yeah. And so, also like the Latin version, is meaningful to me too.
Sounds like a Samcha expansion podcast episode right there. Well, favorite comment you've gotten on your videos?
Oh my gosh, I'm like blanking. There have been some that like have made me laugh out loud. Okay, the one that comes to mind is someone who was like very upset about something that I said in a video, or like, I don't know, it was like basically a negative comment, and then I responded and was just like explaining. I was like, oh yeah, like I get why you feel that way, blah blah blah. This is like XYZ. And then the person was like, oh my God, like I totally like didn't realize like you're actually reading these. I totally understand. Thank you so much. Like,
they're like, you're actually a real person with feelings, and like it hurts if I say stuff like.
Yeah, so that one made me laugh.
What's a video on your channel that you're most proud of?
I think. I mean, I definitely am proud of the soul food video, the one that has like the most views on my channel, because I feel like I tried to stretch myself in the creativity of it with like the B-roll and the music, and like talking like in front of the restaurant and like setting context. I think there's a lot of things I would have done to improve it, like if I were to film it again today, but I feel like I had so much fun making it, and like really like tried to push myself in the creativity.
Yeah, I remember the tea house shots were really cool. And then for someone listening out there today, what is the one thing that you hope they take away from this whole conversation?
I hope they don't think that I talk too much. I feel like I was talking so much, but in all seriousness, I hope they take away that whatever your interest is, so whether it is making videos or like other type of content, or it's like something completely unrelated and you just happen to be listening to this, that like just own like that thing that you're interested in. And nobody should, like, anybody who makes you feel bad for like being excited about it or like interested in what you're interested in, it's like they're not worth your time, right? And like look for those people who get excited for you and cheer for you and help you because they want you to succeed. So yeah, I think it can get lonely if you're the only one who's interested in that thing, but it's okay because that's what makes you unique. That's like so cheesy.
Finger snaps. Love it. Love it. And so we know you have the YouTube channel, you have your Samcha podcast. What's the best way for people that are listening out there to connect with you, learn more about your content, all that?
Yeah. So yeah, my YouTube channel is kchoi. So you can look me up by looking up kchoi. The URL technically is youtube.com/by-kchoi. So if you look that up specifically, you can find me on Instagram at Kristina Choi, and that's Kristina with a K, which is why it's kchoi. I think that there's some people who I think don't know my name, so they just call me K, which makes sense, right? But like in comments, they'll just like refer to me as K. They can find me there. And then, yeah, the podcast that I co-host with my friends, Christine and Megan, it's called Samcha Podcast. And we're just at Samcha Podcast on like all the different platforms. So you can find us there.
Yeah. To those listening out there, thank you so much for tuning in to the Inner Creator and our convo with Kristina today. And Kristina, thank you so much for taking the time. This was, I wanted to ask you so many questions. Like your storytelling, your videos are so cool. And I just really appreciate that you're very like just chill and genuine and then just really helpful. So yes, thank you for just coming on the show.
Thank you so much. And thank you. Yeah, I love what you've got going on here with your podcast. So I'm really excited for you and wish you all the best.
If you want to see more for content, check it out here. And if you want more creative business tips, then press here to subscribe to the Inner Creator. Love yourself, love others. Have an awesome day.